Greetings friends and welcome back to Recon by Fire. For today's battle we have John in the building bringing his Death Guard and running the Champions of Contagion detachment. He is bringing 2 Lords of Contagion, each leading a squad of Death Shroud, 2 Blight Haulers, 2 Mower Drones, 2 Bloat Drones, 2 Rhinos, each carrying a Plague Caster, a Foul Blightspawn, 2 Biologus Putrifiers, and 2x10 Plague Marines. And lastly, 3x10 squads of Pogswalkers. Chaos Knights are going to be trying out the new Infernal Lance detachment, and obviously points are subject to change, but this is the best we've got. They are bringing a Knight Ruinator, a Despoiler, a Knight Tyrant, 2 Executioners, 2 Karnivores, and 3 Stalkers. For today's battle, we're running Mission Pack Alpha, which is Taken Hold, Deployment is Sweep and Engagement, and we're playing on Layout 7. For pre-game actions, the first Stalker is going to scout forward towards the natural expansion. Second Stalker will follow close behind. Third and final Stalker will also push into No Man's Land. Top of round 1 and the Chaos Knights are going first. They will draw a tempting target and establish Locust as their secondaries for the turn. They have selected Darkness as their aura, making any units that are battle shocked or more than 18 inches away from their target -1 to hit. Death Guard have also selected the -1 to hit aura when in their contagion. Tempting target will be the Death Guard natural expansion. In the command phase, we'll start the Malefic Surges. The Gold Stalker will start us off passing its leadership check and scoring additional 5-up invul and a 6-up Feel No Pain. Grey Karnivore succeeds, scoring +3 to movement. Ruinator will succeed, improving its save. Knights will spend a command point to sticky the home objective. Bone Karnivore will fail the Malefic Surge, suffering 3 mortals, but still earns the improved save. Neon Executioner will succeed and have either lethals or sustained hits. Start of the movement phase, and the Stalker is going to go after the tempting target and move in on the Pogswalkers. Karnivore will get to step in and reinforce the Stalker on the tempting target. Executioner will pop around the corner to get line of sight on the Pogswalkers and the Mower Drone. Ruinator will Kool-Aid Man through the wall, succeeding its battle shock test and set eyes on the Pogswalkers. Karnivore is going to move around the building and get on to the center objective. Desecrator is going to reposition and stage for next turn. Tyrant will plow through the wall to get onto the natural expansion, but it fails its leadership check. It will be battle shocked. Both the red and green Stalkers will secure the natural expansion and prep for the Bloat Drones coming out next turn. Start of the shooting phase, the Executioner will pop the empowerment for sustained hits and fires into the Mower Drone, knocking off 3 wounds. Stalker will fire its thermal spear into the Mower Drone and melt a 4 does enough damage to pick it up. Ruinator elects not to fire into the Pogswalkers to make sure it can charge onto the objective, but will fire its missiles into the Rhino, failing to score a wound. Start of the charge phase, and the Ruinator will make its charge into the Pogswalkers. Gold Stalker will make its charge into the other side of the Pogswalkers, but remain on the tempting target. Stalker will swing the Slaughter Call into the Pogswalkers and picks up 3 of them. Unfortunately, they are still within pile-in range, so the Ruinator will activate and swing in, but the -1 to hit with Contagion comes in clutch, and the big guy only takes down a single Pogswalker. Pogswalkers will split attacks on the Clapback. They fail to score a wound on the Ruinator, but will score 1 on the Stalker. That is going to end the turn for the Chaos Knights. They will score 5 points for holding the tempting target and 2 points for establishing Locust in the center. Bottom of round 1 for the Death Guard, they will draw Secure No Man's Land and engage on all fronts as their secondaries for the turn. Start of the movement phase, and the Pogswalkers are going to move out of the building. Blight Hauler will move out of cover and get line of sight on the Ruinator. Second Blight Hauler will follow suit. Mower Drone will come out to play in the center. Squad of Plague Marines will disembark from the Rhino, then move out to the center in hopes of making a dual charge. Rhino will then pivot and move to be wholly within the building to get line of sight out the gap in the walls. Pogswalkers are going to fall back and move block the second Karnivore from getting onto the objective. Second Rhino will advance to get wholly within the other building. Start of the shooting phase, and the Rhino will fire into the Stalker with firing deck, knocking it down to just 8 wounds. First Blight Hauler will split fire, sending the rocket into the Stalker, knocking off 4 more wounds. Meltas are going to go into the Ruinator. In response, Chaos Knights will pop a Diabolic Bulwark, giving it a 4-up invul and shooting, and it takes no damage. Second Blight Hauler will repeat the process, but no joy. Bloat Drone will fire across the board towards the wounded Stalker. Darkness isn't quite enough, and down it goes, but it does explode, and boy is there a lot danger close. Poxwalkers suffer 3 mortals. Second squad of Poxwalkers take 1 but make the feel no pain. Ruinator takes 1. First Blight Hauler takes 3, and the second Blight Hauler suffers 1 mortal. Rhino will fire into the Ruinator. It fails to score a wound, but the Plague Marines will now get to reroll wounds on that target. Plague Marines fire everything into the Ruinator, knocking it down to 18 wounds remaining. Going into charges, and the Mower Drone will make the dual charge with a 10. Plague Marines will also make the dual charge. They'll send all the characters into the Karnivore and the heavy weapons into the Ruinator. Blight Hauler will attempt the charge as well. It fails the first one, CP reroll, and it fails the second. Mower Drone and half the Plague Marine squad will swing into the Ruinator, leaving it at just 9 wounds remaining. The rest of the Plague Marines will swing into the Karnivore, taking it down to 10. Ruinator forgets about the Mower Drone, which surely will not come back to haunt them, and will swing into the Plague Marines, only taking down 1. Karnivore will swing into the Plague Marines, picking up 1 and wounding another. That is going to end the turn for the Death Guard. They will score 5 points for secure no man's land and 1 point for engage on all fronts. If you're still watching and like what you see, take a moment to hit that subscribe button so we know that you want to see more content like this. Top of round 2 for the Chaos Knights, they will draw Recover Assets and Secure No Man's Land as their secondaries for the turn. They control 2 objectives and will score 10 points on primary. Time for some Malefic Surges, and the Red Stalker will succeed with an 11. Green Stalker is good with a 7. Night Tyrant is empowered. Desecrator succeeds with a 10. Neon Executioner is empowered. Karnivore will succeed its Malefic Surge as well. Ruinator will barely succeed with a 6. And the Karnivore will make its Surge with an 8. Red Stalker will empower, giving it +3 to move, and will get line of sight on the Bloat Drones. Ruinator is going to fall back out of combat. Death Guard will spend a command point to fire Overwatch with the Blight Hauler, but no joy. Karnivore is going to fall back but remain on the objective. Tyrant will do a slight reposition for line of sight. Green Stalker will remain on the objective but move out of contagion. Executioner will move forward to get line of sight down the center. Karnivore will prep to charge the Poxwalkers. At the end of movement, the final Executioner will arrive out of strategic reserves, blocking off the backfield from a rapid ingress. In a heads-up play, the Death Guard will rapid in a squad of Death Shroud just behind the Poxwalkers, since the Karnivore is in contagion, to threaten the heroic intervention on the point. Karnivore will fire into the Poxwalkers in front of it with the stubber and picks up 1 of them. Desecrator will empower itself for sustained hits and splits fire, starting off with the Melta going into the Blight Hauler, making short work of it. The rest of the shots will go into the Plague Marines, picking up 2 of them. Tyrant is up next, will fire the Volcano Lance into the final Blight Hauler. It rolls a 1 on the wound, so Knights have to spend their final command point on a reroll, and it does take it down. Oof, that was close. It will empower for sustained hits and fires the Decimator into the nearby Plague Marines, picking up 2 of them. Siegebreaker missiles go into the Rhino, knocking off 6 wounds. Lastly, the Meltas will go into the Plague Marines, picking up 1 more. Red Stalker will dump everything into the Bloat Drone that is marked as the Ruinator's victim and absolutely whiffs. Executioner will fire into the Plague Marine squad and picks off the last Marine and wounding 1 of the characters. Green Stalker fires into the Mower Drone, knocking off just 4 wounds. Start of the charge phase, Stalker is going to try a 10-inch charge into the Bloat Drone and rolls an 8. Karnivore attempts the dual charge into the Death Shroud and the Poxwalkers. They need a 7 and fail with the reroll. Desecrator is unable to charge through the wall to get to the Mower Drone, so that is going to end the turn for the Chaos Knights. They still manage to score 5 points for secure no man's land and 3 points for recover assets. Bottom of round 2 for the Death Guard, they will draw extend battle lines and bring it down as their secondaries for the turn. They control 2 objectives and will score 10 points on primary. Start of the movement phase, and the wounded Rhino will reposition to have a fantastic move block on the Stalker. Bloat Drones will do a slight adjustment to have line of sight on the Karnivore. Loaded Rhino will reposition behind the template of the center building. In what ends up being an absolutely gross move, the Mower Drone will fall back in between engagement range of the 2 big knights and land deep into enemy territory. Death Shroud are going to move into the nearby building to set up the dual charge, and the Poxwalkers are going to bring up the rear and reinforce the point. The 2 remaining characters are going to move on to the center objective to set up potential charges into both targets. Since the Mower Drone's move successfully puts all the Chaos Knights nearby in contagion, the Death Shroud are not able to deep strike directly onto the Chaos Knights' home objective. Start of the shooting phase, and both lone characters will fire into the Ruinator, knocking off an additional 4 wounds, leaving it at just 4 remaining. Bloat Drones will fire into the red Stalker, taking it down to 11. Rhino chips off 2 more wounds, down to 9. Charge the clock, and the Plague Caster makes it into the Karnivore. Putrifier also makes the charge into the Karnivore. Death Guard are on a roll, pun intended, and the Death Shroud will make the dual charge into the Ruinator and the Karnivore. Death Shroud need a 6 to make it into the Desecrator. They roll a 4. Command reroll to try to make it, and it's a 3. Oh no! The Death Shroud that made their charge will have split attacks, but one will not be able to make it due to coherency. They'll send the Lord of Contagion and 1 into the Ruinator, and it does take it down, but revenge is swift as it does deadly demise. The festivities will begin with the Putrifier suffering 2 mortals, and that's enough to pick him up. Mower Drone will suffer just a single wound. Ooh, and the Despoiler will take the full 6 mortals. Terminators will only take 3, leaving 1 alive with a single wound. Single Terminator into the Karnivore takes it down to 12. Plaguecaster swings into the Karnivore, dealing no damage, but the crackback is immense and he slices him in half. The little guy will get his revenge though, because he does trigger the deadly demise on the way out, scoring a mortal. That is going to end the turn for the Death Guard, and even with a failed charge, they still had a strong turn, scoring 5 points for extend battle lines and 4 points for bring it down. If you have ever failed a 6-inch charge with a reroll, then by all means smash that like button so we know we're not the only ones. Top of round 3, and the score is tied, so there will not be a challenger card this round. Chaos Knights are going to draw extend battle lines and bring it down as their secondaries for the turn. They control 2 objectives and will score 10 points on primary. They'll roll 2 dice to randomly select their dread abilities and score darkness again, as well as Dominion, giving their auras plus 3 inches. In the command phase, we start checking for malefic surges, and the Legion Executioner will fail, taking 2 mortals. Neon Executioner is next and will fail, also suffering 2 mortals. Despoiler will fail, suffering 3 mortals. Man, this guy can't catch a break. Tyrant will succeed. Karnivore in the center is good. Green Stalker fails and suffers 3. Red Stalker fails and goes down to 7. Lastly, the Karnivore near the Death Shroud will take its check and also fails. Oh man, the Dark Gods are not happy with the Knights today. Start of the movement phase, and the Executioner will move back towards their home objective. Despoiler is already in contagion, so we'll go ahead and move back onto the point and guarantee a charge. Karnivore is going to pop its empowerment for plus 3 movement, guaranteeing the charge into the Rhino and hopefully tar pitting the Plague Marines. Death Guard will spend a command point to fire Overwatch with the Rhino and leave the Karnivore at just 6 wounds remaining. Executioner is going to move out of contagion and get line of sight on the entire squad and the Mower Drone. Knight Tyrant will reposition to have better fields of fire next turn but stay out of contagion. Stalker will hold the point outside of charge range from the Plague Marines. Stalker will make the charge into the Rhino unfailable. into the shooting phase, and the Karnivore will fire out of combat into the Poxwalkers, and they make all their feel no pains. Bone Karnivore will repeat the process and picks up one of the two. Red Stalker fires into the Bloat Drone, knocking off 5 wounds. Night Tyrant will empower for sustained hits and fires everything into the Death Shroud and manages to pick up 2 of them. Both Executioners will empower for sustain and fire into the Death Shroud but fail to pick one up. Lord of Contagion can get up at the end of the phase, so the Despoiler is going to send absolutely everything into the squad and does manage to pick them all up. Lord of Contagion rolls a 1 and does not get back up. That is huge. Start of the charge phase, and the Despoiler will make it into the Mower Drone. Red Stalker rolls the ever reliable boxcars on the 2-inch charge into the Rhino. Karnivore will make its charge into the Rhino and will position itself on the backside, forcing the Plague Marines to go backwards if they want to deal with it. Start of the fight phase, and the Karnivore will tear the Rhino in half, spilling out the Plague Marines, and they only lose a model on the way out. Red Stalker is up next and will swing into the Rhino, making short work of it. It does not explode, and the Stalker elects not to consolidate onto the point. Despoiler will strike into the Mower Drone, but completely whiffs, failing to score a wound. Mower Drone will clap back and knocks 4 wounds off of the Titan, bringing him down to just 14. Into ongoing combat, and the Chaos Knights are going to spend a command point for Hellforge Construction, reducing incoming AP by 1 into the Karnivore, as well as empowering it for a 6-up Feel No Pain. 3 of the Death Shroud are able to swing in, and the Karnivore survives at 9 wounds. Karnivore will clap back and manages to pick up a Terminator. That is going to end the turn for the Chaos Knights. They will score 4 points for Extend Battle Lines and 4 points for Bring It Down. Bottom of round 3 for the Death Guard, they will draw Assassinate, which they'll cycle away with new orders, drawing no prisoners and recover assets as their secondaries for the turn. They control 2 objectives and will score 10 points on primary. Start of the movement phase, and the Mower Drone will fall back onto the Knight's home objective, ready to charge back in. Poxwalkers will stack all their OC onto the objective. Death Shroud will fall back from the Karnivore and into the building. Bloat Drone will make a run for the center objective. Plague Marines will spread out between the Karnivore and the Stalker, lining up for a dual charge. Into the shooting phase, and Bloat Drone will fire into the Karnivore across the board, scores only 1 wound, but the Karnivore will make it save. Plague Marines will split fire, sending the first volley into the Red Stalker, and they manage to pick it up. The other half will fire into the Karnivore. They will lose a model due to overcharging, but the Karnivore is down to just 3 wounds. It's charge o'clock, and the Plague Marines will make their charge into the Karnivore. Mower Drone is back into combat. Poxwalkers make the charge into the Karnivore, hoping to tar pit. Plague Marines will swing into the wounded Karnivore, and to the surprise of no one, down it goes. It does not explode. Poxwalkers will hack and slash at the Karnivore, but no joy. Mower Drone into the Despoiler. Knights will spend a CP for -1 AP, but the big guy still takes 4 wounds. Revenge is swift, and the clapback finally has the Mower Drone biting the bullet. Karnivore sweeps into the Poxwalkers, but they make plenty of Feel No Pains, and 3 remain alive. Death Guard will end the turn there, scoring 4 points for no prisoners and 3 points for recover assets. Top of round 4 for the Chaos Knights, they will draw Overwhelming Force and Sabotage as their secondaries for the turn. They'll spend a command point to auto-pass the leadership check on the Despoiler and will score 10 points on primary. Executioner will succeed its surge. Tyrant will also succeed. Start of the movement phase, Green Stalker is going to tow onto the center objective, hopefully staying outside of charge range. Tyrant will tow onto the building to perform the sabotage action. Executioner is going to advance but doesn't quite make it onto the natural expansion. Despoiler will move back away from the Death Shroud. Executioner is going to do the same and fall back. Quick shooting phase, as the Tyrant will fire everything into the Bloat Drone, taking it down. Executioner will fire into the remaining Poxwalkers, taking them down and clearing the way for the Karnivore. Karnivore is going to make the charge into the Death Shroud and potentially stealing the objective. Karnivore will strike into the Terminators, but 4-ups be that way sometimes and fails to pick up a single one. Knights will -1 AP on the crackback, but the Lord of Contagion takes care of the Karnivore regardless. It does not explode. That is going to end a quick turn for the Chaos Knights. They will score 5 points for overwhelming force, and Sabotage is ongoing. Bottom of round 4 for the Death Guard, they will draw Sabotage and Behind Enemy Lines as their secondaries for the turn. They control 2 objectives and will score 10 points on primary. Death Shroud will set up a 12-inch charge into the Stalker. Plague Marines are going to make a move towards the center objective and set up a 10-inch charge into the Stalker. Bloat Drone will move to give line of sight down the firing lane. Start of the shooting phase, the Bloat Drone will fire into the green Stalker. In response, Knights will spend a command point to give it a 4-up invul, and it suffers no damage. Plague Caster and company will fire everything into the same War Dog and bring it down to just 5 wounds remaining. It's charge o'clock, and the Lord of Contagion attempts the 12 and fails with an 11. Plague Marines need a 10, and they're in! Oh, that is huge! Sustained lethals and crits on 5s make short work of the War Dog, and one Plague Marine is just close enough to consolidate and tow on to the Tyrant. It will attempt to kick them off and manages to pick up one of them. That's going to end a pretty strong turn for the Death Guard. Sabotage is ongoing, and they'll discard Behind Enemy Lines for a command point. The Knight Tyrant will complete the Sabotage for 3. Top of round 5 for the Chaos Knights, they will draw Cleanse and immediately discard it with New Orders for Storm Hostile Objective and call the Horde as their secondaries for the turn. They control 2 objectives and will score 10 points on primary. All Knights succeed their Malefic Surges, and we go right into the movement phase with the Despoiler going through the wall towards the center. It does fail its leadership check and is now battle shocked. Executioner moves up to get line of sight down the center of the field. Second Executioner will move towards the board edge to get out of Contagion and see both the Plague Marines and the Bloat Drone. Both Executioners are empowered for lethals and fire into the Bloat Drone, taking it off the board. So I absolutely punted here and did not realize how many of the weapon systems on the Tyrant had Blast, so the majority of them will not fire into the Plague Marines. This means that it only manages to pick up a single Plague Marine. The majority of the weapons will go into the Death Shroud and pick up one and leave another at 1 wound. Despoiler fires everything into the remaining Death Shroud, picking up the Terminator, believing the Lord of Contagion. Start of the charge phase, Despoiler will make its charge into the Plague Marines, but it's still battle shocked, so no precision or tank shock here. Plague Marines will activate their once per battle fights first ability, splitting their attacks, bringing the Tyrant down to 23 and the Despoiler down to just 4 wounds remaining. Despoiler fights back empowered for sustain and manages to pick up 5 of them, but it is battle shocked, so it doesn't matter where the models are pulled, they will fail to score Call the Horde and Storm Hostile Objective. That is going to end the turn for the Chaos Knights, unfortunately scoring 0 on secondary. Death Guard will complete their Sabotage for 3 points. Last turn of the game, Death Guard will draw Cleanse and establish Locust as their secondaries for the turn. The point differential at the beginning of the round was greater than 5, so Death Guard will draw Force a Breach as their challenger card. Lord of Contagion is going to move within 6 inches of the center to score 2 points for establishing Locust, and the Lone Poxwalker will cleanse that objective for an additional 2 points. Plague Marines will all fall back onto the point, out-OCing the Knight, scoring them 15 points on primary at the end of the game. That is going to make the final score with paint 81 to 84 in favor of the Death Guard. John, thank you so much for coming out and jamming, and thank you, the viewer, for watching. We really do appreciate it. If you like what you see, please do take a moment to lightly tap that subscribe button. Hit the like button and tell a friend about us, as it would mean a lot to us and really help us reach our goal of 1,000 subs. That'll do it for today, my friends. Until next time, as always, happy gaming.